Hi, just a quick disclaimer. All opinions expressed in this podcast are our own and do not reflect the entirety of Cry or CRC.
Hi, my name is Ivani. This is the New Normal podcast, and we're going to be talking about new beginnings. So I am going to ask for updates first. I know, Nat, you already gave yours before the recording about the zine. But I was wondering if there are any updates from the Cry Care Fund and like going into detail about what that kind of is and what we're planning to do with that and stuff, and just go down the line from Cry Care Fund to the exhibition and then, of course, to the zine.
Mm-hmm. So, and as we go around, can we just introduce who we are individually and just like talk about like our role within Cry as fellows?
Mm-hmm. I can go. Hi, my name's Alana, and I am a fellow with the Cry Care Fund, which is a mutual aid fund for people in Philadelphia, focused on mental health. And so what we're essentially doing is using the money that we got from grants and some other awesome stuff that Cry facilitators got, and we're using that to provide someone in Philadelphia with free therapy, basically, for at least 6 sessions. And then we'll see where we're at after that. And so people can apply once the applications go live this spring. And then if you do not get the free therapy that we're offering, we're also providing a bunch of different little bundles that people can have, like a self-care bundle, which will have one of those happy lights, as well as like a deconstructing mental health bundle, which will have a bunch of books that you can read to really understand how mental health works and the history of it in the United States. And then we also have some other exciting stuff that we're organizing right now.
I can go next. Hi, my name is Andre, and my role in Cry, I run the podcast as well as the social media. So I basically make graphics for our Instagram page. Follow us at cry.collective on Instagram. And yeah, you're listening to our podcast right now. So that's all handled.
Hey, my name is Peyton. I am the fellowship for the exhibition, and what my role is that I basically is organizing to figure out what space that we use for the exhibition, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's basically it. And then as well, like doing a little bit more extra behind the scenes for Cry.
I can go again. I'm Ivani. I am a part of the Collective Care Fellowship, so I kind of deal with scheduling meetings and making sure that the collective is all like accounted for, and we're still bonding as a collective and as teams together, like roughing it through this thing we call life, and also dabbling in taking care of merch and all that good stuff, and making sure that we stay aligned.
My name's Nat. I am 19. I am my second year. I'm also a fellow. I currently go to UArts, and I am a photography major. I am basically in charge of the zine or whatever magazine-like things get published. And in these zines, we often do things about the members, our mission statement, who we are, but also like the conversations that we have, what kind of things need to still be spoken about, what things that are going on in our community, and different ideas that we have for them, or things that are upcoming. Like, for example, our care fund will be included in this year's zine, a list of different things. What else? I might every now and then design an infographic. I might do something in Photoshop, get it posted. But other than that, that's just about it.
And I'm just curious to ask you guys, like, how the process is going, honestly, and like what steps, like Alana, what inspired you to get to this Cry Care Fund idea, you and your other fellow Arden? Like, what is that whole process looking like for all?
It's just been really fun. It's like a lot of work, but really fun work. Like I definitely feel a lot more certain than I did at this time last year, because a lot of the responsibility is really on us teenagers rather than like going to meetings and having the facilitators facilitate, which was also incredible, but it's also really cool to just only be relying on myself to get things done. And so me and Arden have been trudging through making like Excel sheets, like to scope out the budget, but also having a lot of fun finding books that really helped us with our mental health. And then also just like art supplies and trying to find Black and Indigenous owned shops to get it from, sourcing all of the materials from them, which is really important. And yeah, the process, yeah, if I have one word, it's not a great word, but I'd just say fun.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, guys?
What's up? How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. We're just getting started, going through just like a few, I can't word, but we're just going through down the list for a podcast, and also just talking about the fellowships and any plans for stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with the fun word. Does anyone else want to pop in before me?
Yeah, so for exhibition right now, we're in the process of applying for Cherry Street Pier. And like my wildest dreams for like the success for the Cry exhibition was if like this city ever got into a situation, if the city gets the situation under control with COVID, we can do something physical, which we are. And our ideal for the exhibition is May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And then also I'm thinking about we would need to do online programming for folks that don't feel comfortable coming into a physical space. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. And I also agree with like the fun statement. Yeah, it's been really great to like have more stability and like knowing what's gonna happen, and like really honing in on the term teen-led collective, because that's what we are. But this year I feel like we have encompassed that term more so than ever, especially with the fellowships. And it's been really fun. Like well, I like run the Instagram page, so it's been really fun like curating different content for it, and like being able to like explore my creativity in that way, and I guess like also strengthen my abilities within designing stuff. So yeah, it has been really fun.
Yeah, I also agree with the fun word. It's been really interesting observing ways that I see self-care and trying to implement that into a collective like mindset, which is something that I've been trying to work on. But yeah, it's definitely been fun and very interesting. I feel like I'm learning a lot about myself, and also just learning about other people, like observing the way that you guys work and, you know, what you're comfortable with and stuff.
For the exhibit, and I know I said it before, but it's great to elaborate. We are currently deciding on the themes that we have included in our zine. Obviously, we'll have our mission statement, but our main goal of the zine will be, what's the right word? Will be, I just lost my train of thought. The main goal of the zine is a little bit different from that. There we go. I'm sorry. I'm just stupid sometimes. But we initially had the idea to create two separate zines, one be intimate and one be more curational. And we have recently decided that in order to get the best of both worlds and also give ourselves kind of a broader and better way of thinking and coming up with this zine and pushing back the timeline a little bit to reduce some stress, that we are going to release it in May, June. We are currently recruiting people, coming up with themes. In about a month, we'll be putting all the information and data that we collect into Adobe Illustrator and starting to actually piece it all together. But we will have that ready, and then at the exhibit that we hold in May, we will have a few previews of it, but also we are going to make the zine eligible for pre-order. So you guys get a intimate experience with the exhibit, and also in a way you get to take home a piece of it with you while getting a piece of us with you. So at the exhibit is when you'll be able to pre-order it, and then it will be released after, instead of having two zines that we release and then you choose to buy. But that's what's going on with the zine. And I think we are doing a stipend for people who join, but that's to be determined. That's just a bonus. Yeah.
So this next question is, I want the newer folks to speak on it first, because they have kind of been in this, like, oh God, I'm mixing my years up. You guys have been in Cry since 2020? Okay, I was like, have they been here since 2019? But I'm just curious, like, how does this feel different from last year, even though it's the beginning of this year? Like, how do you feel like how do you feel the collective has changed since then, and how your views of it?
To be honest, the general feel of Cry last year felt like a classroom mixed with like group therapy. And that's like that was, I think that was a good thing. And I think it helped to foster a sense of trust, at least for me and all the other Cry teens. Because I didn't know anyone going into it. So it was nice to just have a space to talk about things and not really have to like organize anything myself, because I didn't really understand the dynamic of the group. But then everything kind of turned to crap when coronavirus came to the US and everything shut down and all our plans got dashed. But we also started this podcast, so that was pretty cool. And so this year feels a lot different because like it does still have kind of a feel of like classroom meets group therapy, but more like we're leading that rather than the adult facilitators are leading that. And we also seem to, I feel a lot more organized and a lot more confident in what we're doing than last year, just because COVID threw me in a loop and I didn't really feel confident in much of anything in those first few months. But now that sadly we're kind of used to it and used to quarantine and like used to how things are changing, you know, the new normal, this year feels a lot more in our control.
Michael, I don't know if you're able to talk, but how do you feel your experience with Cry, how has it changed at all? You know, how do you feel about it coming into this new year from last year?
Well, I feel like we try to adapt to it. We try to make something good out of it last year. But I feel like now, I really don't know where we're going to go with this. But if this Rona thing clears up by the summer or spring, we could probably make something out of this, you know, like with all the exhibition and how you guys are planning. So we just got to make the best out of it for real. That's what I think, in my opinion.
Very, very true. From experience from being in the first gen of Cry, I feel like kind of like what Andre said earlier on in this podcast, like I feel like now more than ever, it has become teen led. Like now we have these fellowships and like teens are creating these cool ideas like the Cry Care Fund, and teens are in charge of the zine now, like the full like length of it. And now a teen is involved, is completely responsible, well, not completely responsible, but responsible for planning like the exhibition and making sure that we have a space for it and stuff. Like I feel like the past few years it has been like the teens are creating and we are all together as a collective. But I feel like this year we're having more of a bag on our shoulders as far as like pulling the weight around here, pulling up our pants and getting stuff done. I will say that because of COVID, it's a miracle that we've been able to connect like this because we've only met together and had like an in-person meeting like once or twice, I want to say, before 3 times. Oh my gosh. I miss it. We've only met 3 times since Cry 2020 joined, but we've still been able to like brainstorm and have all these cool ideas and actually execute them.
Yeah, going off of that, I feel like, this is our 3rd year, and I feel like with every year we've progressed into like, I don't know, we've become more of ourselves, if that makes sense. Because we are the creative, resilient youth. I feel like the first year we definitely honed. To start off, we are like all young. We're like part of the youth demographic, so that's already like set aside. But like we like explored our creativity within Cry. But then the second year really showcased our resilience because that's when COVID hit, and like we really had to persevere through like the pandemic and transitioning online. We made a podcast because we couldn't do an exhibit. We like were really creative in thinking about ways to like, I don't know, make something out of what we are and like our work that we're doing. And yeah, and I just think we've already like proved that we're like creative, resilient, and like we are youthful. But this year we are also like proving that we can be like a teen like collective and like actually say it with confidence.
Peyton, I know, how are you feeling about like this new year in comparison to like the first year, like in our experience? Because I know like we had the actual physical.
Honestly, I'm feeling proud. It's like a huge change. It seems like the young adults, the teens, young adults, we have like the power with Cry compared to our first year. Like it's amazing that we're able to do like the collect care, the exhibition, the care fund. Like, I don't know, I just think we're like growing and growing into like this beautiful sunflower. I don't know.
I think like Peyton was saying and like all of you were saying, like it's interesting how kind of when COVID hit and we had everything like converted to online, we were all probably really depressed, not just like in a mental state of depression, but like all the things that we know we had planned for this year were suddenly changing, and we had no idea if we could come up with anything that would be just as important or just as successful or just as intriguing. And the way that all of us somehow went from contributors to facilitators as well, alongside the people that were already facilitators. I think all of us also like learn a new side of ourselves, because I don't think we ever imagined having to ever be in that position or to learn how to do those things. Like Payne, I don't know if you've ever even saw or how to do like an application to a place for an exhibit. And, you know, all the things that you learn along the way, you realize were always kind of there. The Care Fund was inspired by what we did last year when we had a member of Cry that could no longer be with us. Not that she died or anything, but she had to she couldn't be a part of the program anymore. And we raised money for her because she became the head of her household and she needed to spend time there. And that's something that stuck with us. And now we keep going. So yeah, proud is definitely the word, because I didn't know, or I didn't imagine that we would ever, no, not that we would ever, I didn't imagine we would get here so quick. And that proudness is definitely there.
And on my next question to ask y'all, I mean, why is our work important? Why is what we're doing important to young folks that are battling with their mental health, especially right now? How has it impacted you, and how do you think that, like, looking at how it impacts you, how do you think it impacts other folks?
I definitely think that it's important because without a doubt, there's so many youth and young adult and a bunch of different type of demographics that, I mean, it's known that if we're talking about Philadelphia specifically, and only because that's where we're headquartered, not just that, there's only Philadelphians in it. There isn't. But this is a city that everybody knows. The main thing you do here is survive. And everybody here is trying to somehow make it in whatever field that they're working in. And we're at such a unique, point in not only history and time and geographically of where we are, but there's so many people who are silent. There's so many people that are dying. There's so many people that are whenever you watch a documentary for your favorite artist or musician or anything like that, for example, the one that they had of Lil Peep, viewing that and seeing, things that he experienced, all I could think to myself is there are kids and there are people who are experiencing that right now in our city and nothing is being done about it, or they don't know how to do anything about it. And I think that us being at our age and at the position that we're at, being able to have this collective and do the things that we're doing, it inspires other people, you can do it. You just, because there's so many positions and so many times where people just feel stuck or don't know that they can actually do that, and they don't know just how many opportunities there are in life. So I just feel like we're important in that sense. You can go out and do this, you can do this, things like that.
Going off what Natalie is saying, I was thinking your mental health does not define who you are at all. That was something that I had to deal with in the beginning of 2019, 2020. Understand my mental health does not define me. It's hard, but it gets better at the end.
I think also just with this podcast specifically, just hearing our stories and I guess sharing our vulnerability with one another is just inspiring to hear that you aren't alone in this, and that there are people experiencing maybe something similar to you, especially during this pandemic. We're all, I mean, even though it is a podcast, would be assume that we're showcasing a brighter side of ourselves, but we aren't. We're showing what's real to us and what we're experiencing in this moment.
Yeah, I guess I'd have two things to say to that. I guess the first would be Peyton. Your cat is so cute. Oh my gosh. Oh goodness. But then the second would be just working with this care fund and being able to given the responsibility of connecting someone with therapy. That's just really close to my heart, and it's so obviously important. I'm having to navigate the healthcare system and trying to get my own therapy and therapy for people in my family who can't do it for themselves. And I remember the other day I was making calls, and by the third call I was just crying because it's so hard and it's so frustrating, and these companies make it so difficult to try and get help. And so to be able to even connect just one person to help without having to go through all of those avenues, I think is really helpful. And I just hope next year, maybe we can do that for 2 people. And then the following year, maybe 10 people,
I definitely agree, Alana. I feel like what I want Cry to be is a resource for people like us, teens and beyond that are struggling with their health and have nowhere to go and don't know where to start. Because I know that before I joined this collective, I didn't know what was going on. Mental health was such a taboo before I joined this collective. I didn't have the vernacular to even speak about it. And I feel like giving people those tools and giving people those words and giving people that knowledge is really important. And I feel like this work is so important because this work is giving us knowledge to spread to other people. And it also in itself is a resource, like that zine that like we've talked about a lot of zines when it comes to like self-care and then also healthcare and like all of these different things that like CRC and Cry have like been a part of. Lost my train of thought. I totally lost my train of thought. No. But it's important. I also want to give a quick shout out to Arden, who is another member of the Care Fund Fellowship who couldn't make it today. And also a shout out to our facilitators. Shout out to CRC, who is like the parent collective of Cry. Shout out to everyone that's made this possible by donating and, hearing our story and giving us grants, giving us like cash money. And shout out to everyone listening and everyone that's, going through it this pandemic, because you can't fault yourself for that at all because it is rough, but we'll make it through.
I give a big shout out to another member who couldn't make it with us today. Her name is Natalie, and she actually designed our podcast logo. So we just want to give a big shout out to her and bring good vibes to her. But without further ado, this is the conclusion of this podcast episode. So we thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you all next podcast.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.